synced. Now we're doing the damn thing, David.
Alrighty.
Do you go by Dave or David?
You know what? Usually David, but I don't really have a preference, so it's really just kind of whatever you feel like calling me.
Just whatever
I
people want
don't
to
have
call
a
you.
preference to get. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. My name's like it's so simple. There's no like
Yeah,
alternative to it.
you can't shorten it up.
You
It
can't
is
fuck.
what it
You know
is.
what always fucked me up? I always wondered why like Williams become Bobs or Bills rather, and Roberts become Bobs.
Yeah,
Like how the
like
hell does
that's
that happen?
the weirdest thing ever. I don't know. Maybe that's something that we can research a little later, but
Probably could.
definitely something I've thought about at least a few times.
Super
Yeah,
random,
yeah,
super random, right? I had a
yeah.
kid I went to high school with. His name was Richard, and that becomes Dick.
Dick.
How
Yeah,
the
it
fuck
is
does
like
that
how does
happen?
that even make sense? Like
I don't know. That's the silliest shit.
someone somewhere one day came up with the ideas like, you know what, Richard, I'm gonna just call you Dick.
Yeah,
No,
probably because he was a dickhead.
Yeah.
I'm always like super self-conscious about people's names.
Yeah.
Like, for the longest time, I wouldn't call anybody by their name because I didn't want to say it wrong.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you don't wanna be that guy.
Yeah,
like, and then
yeah,
you have people sometimes so like Tyron.
yeah.
People be like
Tyron
Tyrone.
or
And then you don't want to
Tyrone.
be that guy to like correct them. You're like, dang, dude, you messing my name up. But then you just go with the flow. You have people that are
Yeah,
like that, but then you also have people that be like, bro, like it's such and such. Then it's just awkward on
yeah.
both ends,
Like you
you
feel
know.
bad
So
immediately when they
yeah,
correct you. It's like,
yeah,
ah, shit. But dude, on the same note, if they don't correct you, you don't know.
yeah, true that.
Dude, there's a guy at the gym. His name is Jake. And so we were talking about like coaching a little bit before this. My kids have been in jujitsu for probably it'll be 4 years in December. So I've been
Mm,
helping with kids class like all of this time.
yeah,
And we had a guy. He put his son in jujitsu, and then he started help coaching, and then like he's been doing jujitsu for the past 2 years or so now. The whole first year, I was calling him, I think Brett. I was so adamant. Someone's like, "No, dude, his name's Jake." I'm like, "No, it's Brett." I'm like, "Hey, Brett," and he answered. He answered to it. He didn't correct me. He didn't correct me for probably 6 months to a year. It was the craziest shit. I'm just like,
I mean, for him, he's probably just like, hey, like I'm getting all of this knowledge. You call me whatever the hell you want,
bro,
as long as I
I
get
was
better.
so confident. I was so confident the wrong day,
Yeah.
but
So how, when you finally got it corrected, what was his viewpoint of you calling him Brett?
we never talked
We
about it.
never talked about
Just
it.
one time I called him Brett, and then he was like, "Hey, it's Jake." I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, okay,
All
my
right.
bad."
And
And
keep
I
it
turned to
moving.
my other friend who's also named Jake. I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, you're right. You're
well,
right. My bad." But it is what
yeah,
the fuck it is, bro. It is what it is.
yeah.
Dude, so I'm glad we're able to do this, man. We're talking about Stu, and he was like,
Mm,
"Dude, I really want to connect you with David." And then I've just kind of been, I've seen you across the MMA scene here
mm.
and there. I do photography for Shamrock.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So if you ever pay, again, like when you had your pro debut, obviously you were in the zone and
Mm,
shit. But like I only do it with my phone because they want it on their social, and it's just
mm.
faster, like to take good pictures on. Like, dude, these the phones on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cameras are
It's
so
easily
amazing.
accessible too.
Yeah,
You know.
dude. So I'll take the pictures and then I'll shoot them over to their social media coordinator, and he'll post them to their Instagram and stuff like that.
Okay. All right.
So I'm in and out of there, but yeah, man, I remember watching your pro debut, and there was definitely a lot of clout like around you that day. Like everybody was expecting some
Really?
big things out of you, dude.
Really? I mean, to be honest, I don't know if it's just like I'm so dialed in and focused. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't really outside of like taking care of like my immediate people, like, hey, I want to come see you fight.
yeah,
Like I wouldn't really know that because like as an amateur up until that point, like I fought internationally or
right.
fought nationally all over the place. So like I guess I wouldn't have anticipated that people would be anticipating seeing me fight at home like that. But it was definitely from what I could remember, it was a great night for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, you had a good show.
Yeah.
It now, are you from here?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Virginia Beach
Okay.
and then moved here when I was like 2. So
Okay.
I've been in St. Louis since I'm 2, so I'm from St. Louis,
Okay.
I'm so St. Louis as they say.
I can dig it. I can dig it. I was creeping on your Facebook and it said Virginia Beach. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's where I was born. You know, I keep a little attachment there, but I don't have any family there or anything like
okay.
that. So pretty much my roots are here in St.
Oh,
Louis.
right on,
Yeah,
dude. Right
yeah.
on, man. So, growing up, were you always like an athletic guy, or like where did your athletic journey begin?
So I started like growing up clearly like every other kid, baseball,
Yeah.
little league football, all that stuff. When I got to about 12 years old, so it's kind of a story. I actually started wrestling at 12.
Okay.
And it was actually a punishment.
Really?
Yeah, because I was a huge WWE fan.
Oh,
So
the
like
good old days.
I knew it was fake and everything like that, or choreographed as we should say, you know,
Yeah,
to be respectful.
right.
But like I just loved it. That's what I wanted to do with my career. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. I would walk around the house wrestling my cousins all the time, and
Yeah,
my
bro.
stepdad, who raised me ever since I was like 6 months old, would always say, you know, you need to stop wrestling with your cousins. You're gonna hurt somebody. Like kids die doing this stuff, you
Yeah,
know. Like and it's true,
it's
you know, it
true.
was happening, and I just kept doing it, and then
Yeah.
his cousin wrestled at Oklahoma University. It was like an NCAA D1 All American and
Okay.
whatnot. And his son was like a little league state champion. He's like, I'm gonna introduce you to my cousin's son, and you're gonna go up and you're gonna learn what it is to wrestle for real.
Real wrestling.
And so he took me to a wrestling facility in North County. I practiced for a week, had my first tournament, ended up taking like second.
Okay.
I did very well. And
Yeah.
then like my first year wrestling at 12, I was in the state finals. Like
Nice.
so it just turned out to be like I was a natural at it.
Yeah, like a fish to
And
water.
then yeah, pretty much. And like I
Yeah.
never looked back from that,
Yeah.
So it was just wrestling and then that summer I picked up boxing and I've been doing both pretty much
Since you're
ever
like 12
since.
years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So
okay. That's I can definitely understand like that progression. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like whenever I was a little kid, I definitely liked wrestling. And I probably when I hit middle school, I definitely wasn't watching it, but I can remember, dude, like hanging out with my friends, and we were always trying to fucking wrestle with each other. We probably
Yeah,
fucked each other up here and
yeah,
there
for
doing that,
sure.
dude. We like be on the trampoline wrestling. Who?
Oh yeah, choreographing matches and
Oh,
outcomes, go buy the fake belts at Toys R Us and
dude,
like
it was the
the
best.
whole thing. That was definitely me, and then would always get in trouble for it. And
Yeah.
before you know it, that punishment ended up kind of setting me on the path to like where I am today.
Yeah,
So
that's so
yeah, yeah.
interesting. That's so, dude, people do get fucked up doing that wrestling stuff,
They
man.
do, man. It's hard. The professionals, man. Like people will be like, "Oh, it's fake," as I said earlier, but like they're pretty much like stuntmen,
You can't fake
and
gravity,
you can't. And the bumps and stuff they take, and
dude.
it's definitely a lot on your body, man. So,
Night after night on the road, a lot of those just get addicted to painkillers
yeah,
and different
yeah.
things,
It's
and
that's the dark side of it,
yeah,
and I think it's with anything you have that rock star lifestyle too, just
yeah.
kind of being on the road and it's a bunch of factors in that and anything like that, like even in fighting to some degree,
Oh
that
yeah.
that can affect people that can't deal with vices very well. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
man, you got to have a strong will to really push through those like dark times, man.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a downside to anything that's really in the limelight. There's usually something going on in the dark that people don't
Yeah.
see. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, dude, fighters go through so many ups and downs. Like people only see what happens in the cage or in the
Mhm.
ring. Like they
100%.
don't see that fucking that job that you're working. They don't see that fight you just had with your girlfriend. They don't see you trying to spend time with your kids and family. Like they don't see any of those things. They don't see you getting hurt in practice,
Yeah.
but you still pushing through.
100%. And I mean, I mean that's just life in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
but
man.
when you think about fighting in particularly, like fighters are, known to be some of the toughest and blah blah blah, but like we're sensitive. Like when we go out there, like we're probably at our most vulnerable. You
100%.
you
You're
step
half
yeah,
naked.
yeah, literally, like
Yeah.
like literally. And like you go in there, you're half naked and you put all of this work in, the spotlight's on you, you're locked in a cage with someone who's done if not as much work or more work than you, that wants it if not as much or more than you,
Yeah.
and there's only one way to settle this disagreement,
Dude, only one
and it's
person's
through
coming.
violence that people go their lifetime trying to avoid, and
Yeah.
that's your way of life. So
Yeah, you seek it out.
yeah, so it's
Such an interesting existence, isn't it? Like, fuck me. Like, you're standing across the cage from somebody, and it's like we're gonna do harm to each other.
mhm.
There's no like ill feelings. Like, I don't feel anything bad towards you, but it's just like you're in my way right now, and I have a
Yeah,
goal.
yeah, like we're all in each other's way. We all have the same the same dream, and that there can only be one. There can only be one champion. There can only be one top guy, and like it is what it is. I guess, different people have like their different motivations for
Yeah.
fighting. Like me personally, like I've never been able to fight out of like anger.
Right.
Like when I approach a fight or when I approach like training, I'm usually at my most calm, my
Yeah.
most at peace. And then like, you get in there and you just know, or at least I learned over time that I'm able to flip that switch when I need to.
Yeah.
So like in certain situations, if I'm gonna knock somebody out, and I remember the first time I ever got a knockout, right? Like I would when I first started training, I started training with Tyron Woodley. He's like my mentor, really like a big brother to me. And like I remember texting him and being like, what does it feel like to like knock somebody out? You know? And he'd tell me whatever he'd tell me, and I'm just like, dang, I wonder, I just want to know what that feels like.
It's a crazy
And
feeling.
it's a crazy feeling. And then I did it, and then I'm like, okay, like, will I be able to do that again? Like can I do that again, or like, was that just like a one-time thing? And then over time, as I've had a couple more knockouts, I kind of realized that like, even though I approach these fights and I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm collected, like there are certain things within those frames of a fight that kind of triggers that switch for me to flip and I can explode.
Yeah.
And then that's where the knockouts come. And then when it's over, it's we're back to normal
Right.
David, like
Yeah.
so like
You
I
got to
said,
tap into that dark side.
yeah, like tapping into it a little bit and then take it to another level, like really, really what drives that. And that's as I've been kind of breaking myself down as you grow and you learn more about yourself, I kind of come to realize a few things and, you know, using a lot of like my pain and my trauma to like that's when that comes out. Like I
Mm.
can always reach back into it. Like I
Yeah.
may not be that guy like 24/7, but
Yeah.
it's like such a part of me and it's like deeply ingrained in me. I'm always going to be able to reach back into it and use it for positive.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me, that's my understanding of it.
That's a
Yeah.
huge key, right? I mean, you see a lot of successful, just high level athletes, or just anybody in general, whether they're a fucking CEO or just a high level doctor or lawyer, like the competitive drive and the ability to like go to that dark place
Yeah.
to like find whatever it is to like motivate you to get you in that place to be like, no, fuck this, like I'm the man and I'm gonna go out there and own it. Like everybody has that.
Hmm.
I watched that documentary about Michael Jordan, The Last Dance.
Yeah, yeah, man. He's psychologically, man.
Dude's fucking insane.
He's one of a kind,
Dude,
literally.
it's
Like,
crazy when he was talking about the way he approaches the game and how he pushes his teammates to be their absolute best and how he's going to do whatever he needs to do to win.
hmm,
And he was getting emotional, like he was about to cry, and he
yeah,
was just like, that's just how I approach the game.
yeah,
And it's just like, dude, like that's a very special type of person.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
May not have a lot of friends, but in the end, he produced results, and you can't argue that,
But
you
there's not a
know.
single person today who played with him who doesn't say they love him.
Yeah, for sure, and they haven't been better because of him,
Right.
So it's like that contrast and like,
Dude,
yeah,
the best coach I ever had in my life, his name is Phil Cagley. He's my high school
hmm,
wrestling coach, and he was also double as a football coach.
hmm,
And he ran our team kind of like a military. And it was like there were plenty of times, man, he was on my ass. I was like, get the fuck off my ass, dude.
hmm,
Like I want to see you come out here and do this shit.
yeah,
And it's like, but I fucking love that guy, dude.
yeah,
It's like hate me now, love me later type
yeah,
deal.
yeah, for
And
sure.
to this day, like wrestling changed my entire life. It set the course for just my ability to tap into that dark place,
Hmm.
to understand that there is another level to which I can actually go to. Because, dude, the mind will play tricks on you. It'll make you think you can't do something, but once you break past that
That's that,
wall,
yeah,
it's like your greatest
yeah.
asset, but also your greatest enemy. But if you learn how to handle it, dude, your body can do far more than your mind will lead you to believe.
100%. I think a lot of people never really find that out
No, they
because,
don't.
like you said the military mindset earlier. It's like the idea that you have to like break someone down to like their bare bones to build
Yeah,
them back up. But like people don't like to do that.
no.
People don't like to take a look at themselves and really like assess their capabilities and really dig deep down of their traumas or whatever it is or their physical abilities and like really break themselves down and like most people shy away from that.
Yeah.
I think that's just kind of what we're taught, I guess, as a society. I don't know, whatever you want to attribute it to, but like that fear of like being vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and like understanding, at 26 years old, like I don't know everything, but like I am learning that on the other side of that vulnerability is like where your truest potential lies,
Yes.
and like to really accept that is like really hard for some people to do.
Well, especially early in life, like the natural human tendency is to take the path of least resistance.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people don't want to go down those hard roads. And I mean, I can remember it was in high school when I learned this lesson again from Coach Cagle. Like, wrestling was 7 days a week.
Hmm.
All sports are really 7 days a
Yeah,
week. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
But like
Yeah.
for
It's
us,
a
it was
lifestyle,
it really is,
Yeah.
man. It's like, you're training all week and then you either have like a duel on like a Friday or like a 2 day tournament.
Hmm.
A lot of 2 day tournaments, especially at the varsity level, right? Like, and then so we would compete either Friday and Saturday or Friday, and then Sunday we would come in and it was typically like a lift and run kind of day.
Hmm.
And normally it's like it's Sunday, we're gonna kind of get a little bit in, kind of chill in season, dude. One Sunday we came in, bro, and like I thought I was a shit because like I don't know how to say this without being arrogant, but like
Hmm.
at least whenever I was on my, like I was the best wrestler on my
Hmm.
team, and my practice partner, we're the two best wrestlers, and we're practice partners, and like we're crushing it. So it's like, get off my ass, dude. Like
Yeah,
where the
like
fuck?
I earned this, this day to kind of relax,
Yeah,
like as
man.
as if that's really a thing.
Right,
But
right.
yeah.
And he used to always say like, listen, if like when I stop talking to you, then you should worry, because
Hmm.
if I'm on you and I'm talking to you, like that means I believe in you,
Yeah.
and that was a big learning lesson. But anyway, like we came in on this Sunday, we're just thinking, all right, we're just gonna lift and maybe do a little run, whatever.
Hmm.
Like, bro, it was the hardest lifting session. He's like, no, you guys are gonna fucking lift today,
Yeah.
and we lifted for probably 45 minutes to an hour. All the mirrors are fogged in that bitch. Like it's
Hmm.
super hard. And then um, our wrestling room, it was like half wrestling room and there was like half weight room. And it was across the street. There's a little street across the street from the high school. So
Hmm.
we get done doing that hard ass lift, and then we go across the street. It's like, all right, well, we're gonna run halls. So we go, and it's a big square, but like one time around, we had to make it in like 45 seconds or something like
Yeah,
that.
so you got the timer on, you just waiting for you to miss that time.
If you don't make it, it doesn't count,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
of course, heavyweights are getting tired.
yeah,
He's
for
not going to
sure.
make it, and we had to do 16 of those. So it's like sprinting almost 2 miles, and so then we did that, and it's like, all right, cool, man, we're done. We're all fucking tired. We're exhausted. Nope. Back across the street. Put on your shoes. We're about to live wrestle. We did
Yeah.
we did that for an hour, and bro, like he broke us, like he broke all of us, man. Like I can remember very specifically, like I start crying, like
Mm.
I'm fucking emotional. I'm going at the time I was wrestling at 189, so I'm going with our heavyweight and our 215 and our group of three for wrestling. And then I just a switch clicked, man, and like I went a little fucking mad, like I was a little crazy, like I'm like, what the fuck, this, like,
Yeah, yeah.
but I pushed through, and afterwards, like he took us through like a cool down and had us like lay down and kind of like meditate and do a visualization.
Mm.
But it was like in that moment, it was like the first time I've ever like truly been broken. And he talked about that. He broke us all for a reason. And it was the first time I realized, like, dude, like I have something else that I can tap into, and even though I don't think I can physically do something, I can.
Right.
And it was just such a fucking learning lesson, and I just learned so much about the power of the mind and the power of the will.
Yeah, for sure. And then the idea, I think, within that is like once you're really broken to that point, like no one else can do that to you on a mat. No one else can do that to you in a cage because
Yes.
you've already been there. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? So, like you said, you can always kind of tap back into that, and that's very important, man.
Do
It's
you
very
remember the first
important.
time you were broke?
You know what? I can. I think I've been broken in several occasions throughout my life in general. But when
Yeah.
it comes to like sports, I can go back to wrestling for you since we're talking wrestling. I think this was like my junior year
Yeah.
of high school. Just coming off a year where I all American at Fargo. Like
Oh,
I
nice.
got upset in the my sophomore year. I got upset in the state finals. Ended up taking in the state semifinals. Ended up taking third place in state.
Been there.
Came back. All American at Fargo. was undefeated. We were halfway through the year, and I'm wrestling this kid. I think he was a state champ from like Whitfield or something. And I'm working on a tech going into probably the second period.
Oh
Like, so
shit.
I was
Oh,
waxing him,
you're
you
taking
know.
them down,
Yeah,
letting them
taking him
up.
down, let him up, taking him down, because that was my style. That's what I did. And I was just kind of at that point. It's not that I took him lightly, but like I had just hit such a flow that I was just kind of going through the motions, doing my thing. I go in for a takedown, and then before I know it, like I look up and I'm on my back. I look up, I'm on my back, and I'm just like, I barely even try to fight off my back, and I get pinned.
Oh damn.
And I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Like
Like I
do you
don't,
know how you ended up on your back?
yeah, I don't know. I took a shot like a high C, and he just like home run moved, like whipped me over on my back, and then I'm on
It
my
happened
back.
so
Yeah, it
fast.
happened so fast. Like I can't, like I've watched the video obviously, but
Okay.
in that moment I'm just like, whoa, just like in such shock. And
Yeah.
then just having to deal with that and accept that defeat. I think that was tough.
Yeah.
I've had injuries from that point to where that same year I freaking had to watch someone I beat before win a state title because I'm injured and I can't compete at state. Like I've
Damn.
definitely been broken down in a few moments throughout my career and stuff like that. But I'm definitely appreciative for those moments now.
Yeah.
I think when I think about like my true purpose in life, I think they really gave me
Yeah.
purpose or helped me understand what my purpose is.
Right.
As I'm still trying to figure that out, but as I go along the journey, it's just like, hey, this is something I can reach back out to in this
Right.
moment.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
that's not like a singular instance of like being broken. It's like you have to deal with this for a long period of
yeah,
time. And
yeah,
it's like,
yep,
how do you respond to that? And
yeah,
like, what do you do during that downtime?
yeah. I mean, where I'm at now, particularly with I'm known for MMA. That's my career choice now. I had an amateur fight here where I got knocked out.
Yeah.
It went viral.
It's a big one.
Yeah,
It's a
it
big
was a
one.
big one.
I didn't know that that was you in
Yeah,
that
that
video.
was that was me, man. That
Yeah.
I still I watched that thing like today, and I'm like, I don't know who that guy is, but no,
Yeah.
it's definitely me. But that was another situation, and like I'll never take that away
Yeah.
from the guy. By the way,
Court.
like
He
Court,
actually
yeah.
came. He started coming and training with us for a little
Yeah,
bit, and
I'll
then
never take that away from him. He was better than me. I wouldn't even say he was better than me on that night, but that happened, and it is what it is. We
yeah,
can't
that
go
dude's a
back.
crazy athlete.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah,
would be
I'm
good training
aware.
partners.
I'm aware, and but just even like dealing with that, a situation of where like, and I'll never make excuses, but like the everything leading up to that moment was like that happening was just the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah.
And I go into that fight, and I'm not my most comfortable. I'm not in a position where I feel like I'm gonna be able to compete the best, but I'm like, I'm gonna win. Like that's what we do.
Yeah.
I signed up to fight. I'm gonna show up and
You
fight.
expect to win.
Exactly, and that end up happening, and like I was physically I was hurt bad for a while, like
Yeah.
really bad concussion, and then on top of that, like the weeks after that, you're seeing this
You
shit's on
see that video?
YouTube, 80,000
It's
views,
had
blah
millions
blah
of
blah.
views.
It's like crazy.
Yeah.
It literally went viral.
Hmm.
Some people saying they saw it on TV. Like, I'm like, man, just dealing with that. Like, the weirdest thing though is like, though that was one of probably the darkest time in my career. Let's say a couple months later, I ended up fighting because I used to fight through UMath. They used to have the national tournaments,
Yep.
on the world level.
Hewlett
Um,
was the coach of that team, right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I fought in, I want to say, was it Florida or maybe Arizona somewhere?
Yeah.
Um, the most comfortable I've ever been in a
Yeah.
cage after that.
Really.
Yeah,
Well,
like
you experienced the worst thing
the
that could
worst
possibly
case
happen.
scenario. Yeah, and like what I always say is like, because people do ask me about that.
Well, it happened so quick.
Yeah, and it was a
It,
like we could break that footage down. Like multiple things happen.
yeah.
So like, and once again, this is not me making excuses because it happened. I got knocked out. It's a loss on my record.
But you can logically explain what happened.
Exactly. So multiple things happen. We can take out the fact, oh, I wasn't feeling good, whatever. That is what it is. But in those frames in the fight, took one too many steps back. Um, took a step back. My right foot like goes kind of in between the canvas and the cage,
Oh, really?
and you'll see me as I'm stepping back. I'll go like this
Oh, is that
and
why you
put my
dropped your
hand,
hand?
yeah, put my
Mm.
hand down because I'm like moving back and I'm like, oh, and then right away the kick comes, and it's like that tenth of a second, that minor mistake I made, just
Dude,
kind of,
yeah. I
you
just
know,
remember, yeah, you're kind of backing up towards the cage because he's doing his
yeah,
crazy
like I
spinny
had
kicks.
blocked like 4 or 5 kicks
Yeah, he
before
kicked
that,
a whole
yeah,
bunch,
and I'm
and then
like,
like
boom,
you're
boom, boom,
circling off the
bam,
cage because you hit the cage. You're
yeah,
circling off, and then just in that half a
just like
second.
that, and you want to call it God or whatever. God works in mysterious ways because
Yeah.
I went in there after that, the fight after that, and was so comfortable, had never felt more present in a
Yes.
fight, like being able to see things as they're happening, also slow things down and like knock this guy out in like a minute and just
Nice.
went on with my life,
Yeah,
and like
that's the
I felt
difference.
better because of that moment,
Yeah.
and not to sound like cliche, but that's like a real thing, like
Yeah. Well, it's like,
yeah,
what do you do with that adversity, right?
yeah,
Like, do you let it consume you and crush you?
mhm,
Like, I've definitely made some mistakes in my career in the past where it's like you lose a fight and then you fucking go into this depression and
yeah,
you don't train for three
mhm,
months.
yep.
And a lot of dudes do that. And
I was there, man. I mean, physically, I didn't leave my basement for like 2.5 weeks because
yeah,
I mean I had really bad concussion symptoms and stuff like
yeah,
that,
like
and
the shit, probably.
and then I'm watching this clip and just like my eyes all messed up, like it was bad, but I was able to get back on the horse and like, I mean, the way I see it, at this point, because I mean I still have people that'll reference that fight, and
Yeah,
I'm like who's scarier, like the undefeated fighter or the guy who's been through some shit like that and
yeah,
is still here at the competing at the same level, if not higher.
that guy for
Like that
sure.
that speaks to your character to
Yes.
deal with something like that and bounce back. And I think that kind of made me as a fighter today, to be
Yeah,
honest.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's like who are you in those moments of chaos? Like who are you when everything's stacked against you, when you're fucking down, when like all your demons are in your head? Like how do you bounce back from
Mhm.
that? And like that's what separates the average from the great,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying?
100%.
So it's just a part of the process, man, I don't like to talk. I don't want to talk shit on my dude, but you could have been Adam Sella and got
Yeah, 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 like it
he,
happens. I mean, especially in MMA,
yeah,
like
like Adam got knocked out big time on
yeah,
the
yep,
UFC.
yeah.
Like,
So
oh,
that's, but
just gotta roll with it,
gotta
man.
keep it
But
going.
yeah, man. But you kept it going, man. And now, like, you went pro. And how have you been? How have you been like adjusting with all the COVID shit? Like, there's no real shows going on. Like, what's your training
Yeah,
looking
it's
like
been
these
it's
days?
it's been kind of tough. Particularly one because I'm coming off an injury.
Yeah, you
So
tore your
I
ACL.
tore my ACL back in November.
How'd you do that?
So I was actually training. So I was scheduled to fight, I believe, in November, like 2 weeks before my fight. And I was down in Rufus Sport training and just
Okay,
kind of got in a weird situation. It was nobody's fault or anything
just
like
one of those
that.
things.
Just one of those things that kind of happened. I thought it was just I tweaked it, tried to train for a couple of days
Mm.
and started feeling weird. Went to a physician, got an MRI, and they're like, "You're this dangling there? That's your ACL. It's supposed to be attached to the other side there." And I'm like,
Oh
"Shit."
shit.
Like, yeah, so then I had to really like, think about fighting and
So this
then
was this past November.
yeah, this was this past
So
November,
you're
man.
coming up almost on a year.
Yeah, almost on a year. They say the timeline is like a year and a half. Like, I would like to be in the cage by like February, March.
Okay.
I feel good about that timeline too. Still working with like my therapist and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and doing what I can on the side. But
Yeah, you're doing the strength and conditioning with
yeah,
Stu
doing
and
strength and
at
conditioning with
output.
Stu at Output, that helps a lot. But with COVID in particularly, like I kind of saw it as a blessing in disguise
Yeah.
in a lot of ways
Yeah. Everybody's
because
slowed down.
everybody had to stop. So instead of like sitting here, woe is me, like I'm watching all these people fight and progress, like it just gives me time, when this stuff boils over to just be ready and like be ready to seize like whatever opportunity comes my way.
Yeah.
And that's what I took it as. Like when we were in quarantine, like pretty much any money I had went to I bought a mat, threw it in my basement. I bought a punching bag, hung it up in my basement.
Nice.
Like I made my basement in my home pretty much like a camp, and whether I was in there by myself doing my rehab stuff or hitting the bag. I'm blessed to have like a pool as well
Oh,
too.
nice.
So like, once the weather got warm, I'm doing stuff in the pool, and like that's literally been all I've been doing is like
Yeah.
taking this COVID time to get healthy. So,
Dude,
yeah.
like now is the greatest time to get ahead. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because so many people are taking this time to just not do shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're just letting things go to the side. They're not working on themselves. And dude, it's a hard time for a lot of people. Tons of people don't have jobs. Tons of people. A lot of people are living in uncertainty.
Yep, you're seeing a lot of divorces going up, like
Tons of
because
divorces.
people are forced to sit and like deal with stuff they've been putting off, and
Yeah,
like,
man.
for me, the personal development part has been a big thing as well too.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of a victim of like being having to sit, and then like things around me that have, whether it's family dynamics or like relationship dynamics, like things that you've been able to sweep under the rug. Like everybody's sitting here and like they're starting to creep up, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
like this shit has to be dealt with.
Yeah, man. You
And
gotta get your house
yeah,
in order.
yeah, gotta get my house in order. And like, so in a lot of ways, like personally throughout relationships, like I've been kind of working on stuff like that too, and
Yeah.
dealing with some traumas that maybe I haven't been aware of because I've been so focused on 50 million things, and like,
Yeah.
um yeah, it's been good. It's been very productive,
Has
COVID, yeah, this
Who
time.
you training with?
So right now, well, literally up until last week, I've been working with Dean Thomas because
He's been in town
yeah,
helping
he's
Tyron.
been in town helping Tyron. So for a good like 3 weeks or so, I've been working out with him,
Uh,
Jose Shorty
yep.
Torres.
Jose's a good. You
Yeah,
guys were on the amateur team
yeah, we
together,
were on
right?
the amateur team together, Team USA,
Yeah, it's such a
UMass.
small world
Yeah.
because Jose, like I've trained with Jose several times over the years
Mhm.
because he would come in town and he would work with Quentin O'Brien. I'm not sure if you,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He has the garage or
as the
something. Yeah,
garage,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Muay Thai guy, and
Mhm.
I've been training with Quentin since 2009,
Okay.
2010.
All right. Yeah.
And so Jose would come in and work out with us, and dude, he just has such a next level when it comes to his cardio.
Oh yeah, for
He
sure.
has a whole new gear.
He has to.
It's it's, it's crazy.
He has to, man.
Yeah,
He's at 25 now, but like it's hard to find, partners like that
yeah,
are his size. So
yeah,
like that's what he leans on.
yeah,
And the funny thing is, like he was already in the camp when I started training with like him and Jillian Robertson. Like the first day I started training with them, that was my first day doing anything contact wise. With
really.
like since I blew out my ACL, so like I was telling him and Dean like, yo, like, I was in the worst shape of my life, like ever. And then after 2 weeks, like I'm starting to like bounce back, and like, yeah, I'm doing all this stuff in my basement in the meantime, but like I started to worry a little bit. I'm like, man, I don't feel like I'm snapping back like I used to, and it
Hmm.
just took for me to get in that environment where I'm getting contact with some partners. I'm drilling, going through that grind. After about a week, as the weight started coming off, I started feeling a lot better. I'm still limited in some ways, but just kind of working around that.
Hmm.
And the fact that I think that I was able to grind and compete with them for a couple of weeks, and like coming off of what I'm coming off of definitely put me in a lot better spirits about
Yeah.
my future,
It's tough when you
So,
lose that timing
yeah.
trying to get it back, and
Mhm.
like when you're a high level athlete like yourself, and you know where you were physically, and you
Mhm.
know what you are physically capable, and then like just when this meat suit doesn't work with
Yeah,
you,
it's like oh
it's like you're not
man.
doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's a hurdle.
but it's been good, and then I've gotten some of the most real coaching that I've ever gotten from Dean that I've ever gotten in my career,
That dude is a fucking
Man,
mastermind.
he's a savant,
Dude,
literally.
dude, I would love to have a conversation with
Like
that guy.
his approach towards just fighting, just life in general is just is so unique, but it's so simple
Yeah,
at the same time. Like
that's the best.
he'll just say something and you'll be like, why didn't I think of that?
Yes.
Like it's profound in the way of what he's saying, but not like he's like breaking it down into a molecule, and like it's just, hey, this like one of the things like and I don't think even think he's aware of this. And this is kind of the blessing of like the position I've kind of been in, like being in that network with like Tyron and meeting like
You have
people
access to
around
some
him.
of the best.
I've had like access to a lot of people, but like just being around, not
Yeah, just
necessarily
being a,
being in the fray or being just being around. And like I'll never forget, this was like right after Tyron won the title, I believe, and we were going to an event, and I had to drive Dean to the event, and we're talking fighting, um, and we're talking about fighting. Hey, he's like, hey, I think like basically how he thinks about fighting and techniques and all that other stuff, and then he said something like, what he said, everything is everything, and I'm like, yo, everything is everything. Like everything matters. And like literally based off of those like three words, like and this was like what, 3, 4 years ago maybe, like based off of those three words, like I've structured like how I approach training like based off of that. Like nothing's wasted, everything matters, everything is everything. And like that was just such a huge eye-opening thing for me, but it was
yeah,
just something he said in the car driving,
just that real
like
simple
yeah,
concept.
and so like I carry that with me to this day.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't even think twice about it. He probably doesn't even remember it,
Yeah.
And yeah, just having being able to conversate with him and just even these last couple of weeks and just actually get coaching, because like being around Tyron has kind of been like a gift and a curse in the sense, because like people think it's like, oh, you trained with Tyron and this and this and that. Well, I'm training every now and again with someone who's a world champion that's doing movies, that's here, there, and everywhere. I may see him like once a month, and then we'll drill together, and it's usually for him to keep him in shape. And every now and again, he'll drop some knowledge on me. And like when we do talk and conversate, we almost never talk about fighting. It's
Yeah.
like about real life
Just
shit.
life.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I'm like, people think, oh, you're being coached by Tyron, like this is some Karate Kid, Master Sensei kind of
Yeah.
setup, and I'm like no, what it's given me is like the resources and tools as far as networks and like having a gym I can go to anytime I need to.
Yeah.
He employs me, I manage the gym,
Okay.
so as far as like my day-to-day life, that helps me out, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm in the gym literally 12, 14 hours a day. Like that's
Nice.
good, but like I'm not really getting like instruction. So like when I get ready for a fight, the most like coaching I'll get, I'll go down to Rufus Sport in Milwaukee, and fit into their system and do whatever they're doing. Have some coaches work with me for a couple of weeks, then I go fight, then I'm back home on my own. Like
Yeah.
in the gym, I'm by myself like 80% of the
You manage
time.
yourself a lot.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so it's kind of been like a gift and a curse, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
So.
Man, I'm a big believer in just the law of attraction, and
Mhm.
the energy that you put out is the energy like gets returned to you, and
Mhm.
it's like just the important of the people, like the importance rather of the people you surround yourself with and you're
Mhm.
exposed to. Like your network is so important. And as cool as fighting is, and as much as we would all like to be world champions and like make it to that next level and cash those checks, just the relationship that you have with like Dean and Tyron and those guys, like that is going to be far more valuable even way past your fighting years.
Yeah,
You're
100%.
like there's
100%.
just so much value just to have those friendships for
Yeah,
sure.
100%. And like the thing is like you said, you what you put out, is what you get back, and I think that's relative to just life in general,
Yeah, dude.
and I think now that I've turned pro, because like even in my amateur career, like that's how my training setup was. Like I pretty much trained myself. Then I'd fly to Prague. I'm in Prague for a week and a half, and like I don't know who's cornering me until the day of the fight.
Yeah.
Whoever Team USA sent out there, it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to compete against like some of the best amateurs in the world who may be getting funded to do this. And then they have a coaching staff that's getting funded to coach them. And then it's
Yeah.
like, I'm just kind of out there doing it because I love it. And like, I'm getting by on like my basic knowledge of fighting. I'm watching, like earlier when we were talking before the podcast, like I'm watching YouTube and like all
Yeah.
of this stuff. And like, it just gets to a point to where like you need that outside support in a fight situation. You need that outside perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like in a
Yeah.
fight situation, and it's like I'm going out there and not just fighting this guy in front of me. I'm fighting three other like coaches who have built a system and a structure for this guy, and like they can see things that I'm not seeing. He can make adjustments that maybe I won't be able to make on the fly like that.
Yes.
And though that was valuable experience, what I found is like I'm always one fight away from gold.
Yeah.
I'll get to the finals, I get a silver. I get to the semis, I'm always losing to the guy who's winning that has that.
Sounds
And
like
I'm
my
like,
life.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, then I come back home and it's like, people, oh, it's so cool. You medaled in this world tournament. It's like, man, I want to
I'm gonna
freaking
fucking
win.
win,
Like, I'm
man.
trying to win. And, like,
I'm trying to be the best.
I need that glue. I need guys like Dean. I need other coaches, guys like Duke Rufus, man, the way he
He's put
approaches,
together an amazing team up there.
not by accident either,
Oh, not by
yeah,
accident.
like the way he approaches martial arts and just like listening to conversations, having conversations with him, and how he teaches, man, it's like my first time going up there, and like I saw that, and I knew I planned on coming back. Like I brought a notebook with me the second time I came back,
Yeah.
man, because I'm like, this is literally like the way they teach and approach everything, man. This is like college for striking,
Yeah.
college for MMA, and like, yeah, it's been great. So I need guys like that, and like being around these people these last couple of years, and like noticing them, maybe even start to notice me, tells me I've been doing something right,
Yeah.
and I think it's soon to come. I think they're gonna start maybe gravitating, and I'm gonna get those opportunities to
Yeah.
work with them, and hopefully it comes into fruition.
Dude, I mean, if you put it
Yeah,
out there, you
yeah,
can definitely make it happen. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, dude, MMA is just it's such a weird sport in that it's almost inevitable unless you're just like you have the most amazing connections because
Hmm.
unfortunately there is a lot of like who do you know? Like
Yeah,
a lot, you
yeah,
know what I mean,
yeah.
in this
It's
sport. But it's like for a lot of fighters, man, there's usually a lull in their career where it's like you're on that precipice of really doing some shit,
mm,
but for whatever reason, fights just keep falling through,
yeah,
or
yeah.
people don't want to take fights with you, and it's just like the guys who can weather that little bit of a downtime and push through, like those are the ones who make it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like we have a guy at our gym, Julius Anglicus.
Yeah, yeah. I went to college with
Oh,
Julius.
did
That's
you?
funny. At Mobap. Yeah, we wrestled at Mobap
Bro, this
together.
MMA community is just
Yeah,
it's too small.
yeah.
It's
Julius
it's
is
too
my
too
guy.
small. Yeah, man. But there was a period. I remember when he first started training. Like, dude, me and Quentin used to fuck him up big
Hmm.
time. And now, it's scary to think about what he can do to people.
Yeah.
But there
I
was a
mean, he's a big athletic dude, man.
dude,
Like,
and he
gosh, like,
works so hard. He's
yeah.
so patient. I'm just waiting for him to turn like just to flip that switch and murder somebody in the
Hmm.
cage because he hits hard. He's very well rounded. He's very disciplined in there.
Hmm.
When he touches people, people don't like it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's he's looked really good in Bellator, but he always kind of like takes his foot off the gas a little bit. Like he'll hit somebody and then he'll back away. He'll kind of
Yeah.
reset. I'm just like, just fucking
You
tattoo
know
him,
what? And I
dude. Like,
think
and
I
what he
think he kind
does.
of sorry,
No,
sorry to
you're
cut you.
good,
Yeah, I think he kind of had that problem when it came to wrestling too, because like you look at him, right? Like you see that dude in a singlet, you're like, ain't nobody fucking with this man. But then like he'd go out there and maybe lose to someone who maybe wasn't as physically gifted, but maybe had a little more like technique. But then you're like, he just doesn't know his own strength
he
or
just
his own
doesn't know it yet.
capabilities yet, you know? Like,
Yeah,
and so it may be, I haven't seen him fight very much. What I have seen of him, he's been doing very well.
yeah.
But it's probably still like that element,
It's
kind of
whatever it
still
is, it's
there.
gonna get him
Yeah,
to flip.
yeah,
He'll get there. I
yeah.
know. I know he will. I know. Like, in Bellator, I think they did their own rankings at 205. He's like
Hmm.
number 8 in
Okay.
Bellator, so he's definitely doing all the right things. But dude, there was a period there where people didn't want to fight him. There's probably 2 or 3 years where he barely fought
Yeah,
at
yeah. I mean,
all.
it makes sense. I
But
mean,
he did all the right things. He kept working out. He kept getting better. He kept training. It was like And then when that call came, he was fucking ready.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they'll let that period to where they'll let that period discourage them, where they won't come into training.
Mm.
They won't do the lifting, they won't do the cardio, and then whenever they get that call, and I can just speak from my own personal experience because I swear I did everything wrong.
Mm.
Like Jesse Finney called me one time. He's like, "Hey man, you want to fight Brendan Ward in the UFC at 185?" And or no, it was at 170. The guy who he just won, I think, the 185 tournament, fought for the belt,
Mm.
lost it, and then went down to 170, and he was killing it. And he called me on like 10 days notice, and I'm like 198.
Yeah, that like that cut. I don't
I'm
know
just like,
about. Yeah.
bro, I can't make this cut on
Yeah.
10 days notice. Like, if I made the weight, I'd go in there and I'd just get my ass beat. And like,
Mm.
what's the purpose of that? Like, that's a bad career move. And then there was another time they called me, and this was a little bit more out of my control, where he's like, hey man, you want to fight in Tel Aviv? And I didn't have my passport yet. It
Mm.
was super ironic though, because I just applied for my passport and I got it like 2 weeks later, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't let you sign the contract unless you had your
Had it
passport.
already. Yeah, 'cause I
So
don't
it's
know.
just like in those downtimes, man, like you always have to stay ready, man, because if you don't, the opportunity will come. Like that just seems how the universe works. And Julius definitely did the right thing with just staying ready, man.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with like just the way like the landscape in MMA is kind of set up.
Yeah.
Like there's no blueprint from
No.
going here to there.
Right.
With like other sports with like boxing, it's like, all right, you get signed to a promoter, you probably won't think about a big fight until you get 20 plus wins, and like
Yeah.
there's little more of like a map. You can map out your career a
Right.
little bit better.
Right.
With like MMA and like especially the way that things are now in our society, it's literally just about kind of being ready for that opportunity. You
Right.
never know when it could come. You can be a guy like a Conor McGregor who freaking just blows up out of nowhere, was on welfare 2 weeks ago, and you get a phone call, oh, I haven't trained in I don't know how long, but you get that
Yeah.
phone call, you just gotta be ready,
Yeah,
you
man.
know?
He
And
changed the game.
yeah, like,
Yeah, you do. You just have to be. You just always have to be ready because you just never know when it's coming,
yeah,
dude. You
yeah.
just never do. Now there's just kind of like this dynamic in the MMA scene where it's kind of going back to like WWE. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like that was
Show
yeah,
business.
dude. Like
Yeah.
that was the model that
Mhm.
was kind of used to help blow up the sport, and it's
Mhm.
almost like I've noticed like in Bellator, they kind of accept the quiet professional a little
Mhm.
bit more than like the UFC does.
Yeah.
It's like you not only have to be a good fighter, but you also need to be a little bit of a showman.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any like issues with that or conflict with that, or what do you
You
think?
know
What do you
what?
think about that?
I'm kind of in the middle on it. I think the problem is, and as much as I hate to continue to use him as an example, Conor McGregor,
Yeah,
it's like he had it naturally. He is what he is.
he's a showman.
Whether he walks into a press conference, he walks into the gym, he's walking to the gas station down the street, you're gonna get that guy.
Yeah,
So then you see people like up and coming fighters and stuff see somebody like that and they're like, "Oh, I have to be like this to be successful." And they're trying to like mimic it and it just doesn't come off right. And
right.
then like the next guy tries and the next guy tries it. Like if you got it, do it.
Yeah,
Just be you. Like
yeah,
there's room for every personality type.
yeah,
Like you can be humble and be a champion.
yeah,
Demetrius Johnson, the Anderson Silvas. You know what I'm saying? You don't
yeah,
have to. But if you're a guy like a Israel Adesanya, who's like, hey, this is my personality. This is who I am at my core. Like, people are always gonna be. I always say, real recognize real.
yeah.
Like, people are always gonna be able to tell whether you're fake or not. And
Right,
like, that's not the only way to be successful as a
right.
fighter. Like, so as long as you're being you, like,
That's all that
that's
matters.
all that matters at this point. Like.
Yeah, yeah. Can't please
I
everybody.
think with like, we're in the age of like social media and like stuff like that, and they kind of lean towards and gravitates towards protect like supporting people that kind of do that stuff a little bit more. But I don't know, man. Like sometimes it kind of turns me off though to see guys just doing extra like
Yeah,
for no reason, and
yeah.
then you can't even back it up. Most importantly, like if you're talking all this shit, oh, doing all this crazy stuff, and like you can't back it up. Like,
Yeah.
then you just look even more silly,
You're like a
Like,
big jackass.
yeah, like, but man, fighters are weird, man. I don't know.
We are weird creatures in general.
We are weird for sure. So I think there's room enough for everybody, but I think being genuine should rank up above everything.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a big
yeah,
buzzword,
yeah,
but authenticity
yeah,
goes a long way.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
man. It's like, do you know who you are and do you know what you
Mhm.
bring to the table and are you
Yeah.
comfortable with yourself?
Mhm.
Because like you said, there's a lot of people just trying to just do it for the show and that's not who they are.
Yeah. And then the thing is like, one person I think exemplifies kind of authenticity. In boxing, you got like Floyd Mayweather,
Yeah.
right? People couldn't stand him, when he transitioned from pretty boy to money and he was doing all this other stuff and like, I think a lot of it is just like his personality like inflated to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But one thing he never lost like sight of, he always trained like he was broke. Like
Yes.
no matter what, most importantly.
Dude.
And that's why backing it up is important because no matter what he did, no matter what he said, whether he was in the strip club, whether he was eating McDonald's 2 weeks before a fight, he was in the gym every damn day
Dude,
doing everything he had to do.
arguably the best
Yeah,
boxer of all
a
time,
hundred
dude.
percent.
Like, he's going out at midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning going for runs on a
Exactly.
regular basis. Like,
Exactly. And never lost sight of that drive. So,
people forget that boxing is the art of hitting and not getting hit,
mhm.
and he was the best at that shit.
100%, man. I have a deep appreciation for boxing. Like I love MMA. Like grew up wrestling and boxing. I got really good at wrestling like very early, so I couldn't really dedicate as much time towards boxing as I wanted to. But
Yeah,
as far as like sports to watch and like study, boxing is hands down my favorite.
yeah,
And like watching Floyd fight, like watching him make people miss. For me is like watching Mike Tyson knock somebody out.
yeah.
Like I have a deep appreciation
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
oh yeah,
So
dude. Like, people want to talk about, Mayweather's not exciting or because he's not getting knockouts. Dude has brittle fucking hands. He's
yeah.
broke his hands multiple
And
times.
I always say that I would go back to 19, 20, 21-year-old Floyd. You will see some people hit the floor,
Yeah,
and people don't realize, man, like this dude has fought through like three generations of boxers.
dude.
Like what other sport has ever done that? What other athlete has ever done that?
His longevity is crazy. It's
It's
almost like Bernard
ridiculous.
Hopkins
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
longevity. You know what I'm
yeah. And
saying?
like over time, man, you start having issues with your hands, and he made that adjustment, and where he made the adjustment in his style, like fighting wise, he made the adjustment in his persona as far as like, okay, like how am I gonna approach this from a marketing standpoint
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
And that's what you saw.
We stopped Connor,
Yeah.
and not that Connor's a boxer, but it's much easier to like teach a wrestler how to box than a boxer
Mm.
how to wrestle.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
with Connor being in MMA, it's like when you do MMA, it's so much easier to do anything else because
Mm.
now you're taking away tools.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, all I have to do is just work on these hands and angles. Like I don't got to worry about the takedown. I don't got to worry about kicks or elbows or
Right,
knees or
right.
any of that. It's like I can just box, and we all know Connor hits hard as fuck. But dude, Mayweather implemented his plan beautifully.
100%, man. And I mean, he was built for boxing. And you could,
Yeah,
the comparison I made is like freaking ping pong versus tennis.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where Conor McGregor, he may be a good ping pong player. Like, Floyd Mayweather is winning the U.S. Open hands down. He's the
Yeah,
Serena Williams of tennis. Like, they're the same, but they're so different in a lot of
yeah,
ways.
yeah, man.
You
There's
know,
there's definitely levels to it,
yeah.
dude.
So,
Man, dude, you're a pretty cerebral guy. Are you a reader or like what do you do to kind of train your
so,
mind?
so that's a good thing. So I I don't read necessarily.
Okay.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So
Oh,
that
cool.
is like an argument, right? Like, are you really reading if you're listening to an audiobook? I try to like actually read, but like one thing like I noticed with just like how I guess learn is like I'm an auditory learner.
Okay.
So like I can read very well. However, when I'm reading like a paper book, like I tend to just read the words. And I'm
Yeah.
not really putting things together and like all
Yeah.
that stuff. But like when I'm listening to something or visually seeing something, like I can put myself into the plot. Like, so I
Okay.
was listening, like earlier today, I was listening to The Pilgrimage by Paulo Coelho, and
Okay.
I actually just finished it.
What's that about?
So it's essentially about Paulo Coelho taking this journey to Santiago to find his sword.
Oh,
So in the end, I mean, I don't know if you haven't read it,
no, I
or
have
yeah,
not.
I don't want to ruin it, but he's basically going on this journey through this path that all these pilgrims take to like find his sword. And
Oh.
what you learn in the end is like the old trope of like it's not necessarily about getting to the sword. It's
Oh,
about,
it's the
you know,
journey.
everything that happens in between, like being present. And then
Yeah.
he teaches you all of these exercises that can like practice like patience
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's a very good book. I would definitely
Oh, right on.
suggest
Yeah,
you
I'll
read
have
it.
to. I'll get that name
Um,
from you at the end, and I'll
yeah,
check it
I
out.
don't want to ruin it and give away too much, but yeah, then another one, another trainer that I work with gave me. It's like the Mindful Athlete. I don't know if you ever heard of
I've heard
that.
of that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I literally had just started that again because I started it like 6 months ago. Like read a couple chapters, then put it down. So I'm like restarting it now.
Okay.
And it seems to be about this guy who worked with like the Bulls and like Michael Jordan and all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of was like their mental coach and like
It's
teach
not
them
Tim
on.
Grover, is it?
I can't remember the name.
Okay.
I literally got it in my car. I have to grab it for you.
Right
But
on.
and he talks about like just being mindful in sports and like pretty much your everyday life
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get back into it. I'm forcing myself back into it, but I'm leaning more towards like the audiobooks as opposed to like actually like
Yeah.
reading. But
I can
I
dig it.
understand like reading, like picking up the vocabulary and all that stuff is like, you know, important as well too.
Dude,
So
to each their own.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's audiobook or a physical book, I mean, as long as you're like expanding your own knowledge base,
hmm
you know what I mean? Just constantly be learning.
Yeah.
Like that's all that really matters for real. Are you into podcasts and different things
So
or?
yeah, I listen to, Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
JRE, everybody listens to that. Another one I've been big into is Nick Cannon has his Cannon's class that he
Oh, does he?
does on like YouTube, and he generally focus on like more so like social causes and like, advancement of his people,
Yeah.
black people, and like with everything going on now, it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
been kind of a hot topic.
Yeah.
I'll listen to like Ti has his Expeditiously podcast on
Oh shit, I didn't know
YouTube.
he had a podcast.
Yeah, it's
Everybody has
yeah,
a
yo,
podcast.
that's the thing. Like everywhere you go, everyone has a podcast. Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson is
Yep, I've
pretty
seen that
dope.
one.
He has a good wide array of like guests and stuff on there too.
Yeah.
So I'm big on like podcasts. I mean, I listen to podcasts probably more than I listen to music sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, dude,
just
me too.
yeah,
Man, it's just there's literally a podcast for almost every interest.
yeah,
S-
100%.
Yeah, so it's like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to explore? Like, there's something there for you.
100%. I think like just even growing up and like, going through school and stuff and like I wasn't I wasn't the most disciplined student by any means, but I've always been like very like autodidactical. Like I like to teach myself, I like to learn. And like that's pretty much what I use like podcasts as a tool for, whether
Yeah.
it's I want to learn about, something, I want to be more socially aware or like I like to listen to like the TED radio hours. Like they'll talk about like they'll go from freaking social causes till you're learning about why the polar ice caps are like melting
Yeah.
to like, oh, how do you develop personality? And before you know it, I'm just picking up things from everywhere.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
I used to like to listen to Radio Lab
hmm
because of that. It's like they have it's a very there's a lot of production with those and they
hmm
can take, quite a bit, almost kind of too much production sometimes for my own taste, but that you dude, you can just learn it's just you can just learn fucking anything, man. Just from the most abstract thing. It's like, whoa, I didn't even know
hmm
that was a thing. And
yeah.
it's like, man, I'm just glad people are producing the content, dude.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll keep. I actually subscribed to the Outside Perspective a couple days ago, so I'll be on the lookout to see what you got coming down
Be
the
on the
pipeline
lookout,
too,
man.
man.
Yeah, we got some good conversations, man. I'm ready to get back on it and get some big guests, dude. The thing I've learned through this whole journey is that, dude, like we're all just people.
hmm
Like I've sat down with some pretty highly successful people, whether it's like Ben Newman or like Andy Frisella, who are
hmm
two of the top, speakers in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, for sure.
And it's like, and I've met everybody in between. It's like, man, dude, we're all just people, man. We're all just people out here just like trying to figure it out. And some people a little bit further on the path, but it's like the ones who make it are the ones who just keep going.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's it.
Perseverance, man. I
Yeah.
feel like that's where I'm kind of at in my life right now. Like,
Yeah.
whether it's particularly we can talk about fighting, that's what I'm known for, but like I've had every reason to quit. I've had
Yeah.
other opportunities, that may seem very good to kind of take me over here for a little bit, but I always come back to this. Like I've had every reason to stop and like just getting up every day and feeling like, man, like this is my purpose.
Yeah.
Like having the goals to be like, all right, I want to be a world champion fighter. I want to make seven figures a year off this. I want to be a six-figure fighter. You're making six figures a fight. I love training. Like all of that's cool. But like learning the levels of like my purpose, it's like I could get all that, but then like my true purpose is like, what am I gonna do when I get there?
Yeah.
Like, how am I gonna affect change around me in the world when I get there?
Right.
When I am a world champion, when I have all of this money in the bank and I'm successful, I got silk sheets, like how am I gonna better other people's lives? What's
Right.
what's my plan for when I get there?
Yeah,
And
because like that's the real purpose, and you would hope that most people kind of get to that point because like fighting is just the vehicle.
exactly,
You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's the goal. Like of course you want to make the money and you want to be able to take care of yourself because you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody
hmm
else. And you can
yeah,
do a whole lot more good with money than without it.
yeah,
But it's just like, how can you use your vehicle and your passion to like truly implement whatever that purpose is you decide is for you.
yeah. And like to kind of touch base on what we were saying earlier today, and like all of the obstacles and stuff that I've been through, and like, I wouldn't change them for anything simply because like they lead me in the direction of my purpose. Because like when I go through this ACL injury, like, all right, now when I get there and I'm successful and I'm at that point, my goals, my immediate goals, like I know how to deal with injury, or I
Yeah.
know how to deal with upset. I know how to bounce back from a major loss. So I'm not just a one-time champion and I
Right.
lose it and then everything falls apart, and or I can pass these lessons on to people that are coming up behind me, most importantly, and like yeah, that's the big thing right now. It's just
Yeah.
really, really understanding my purpose and the levels of to like what I'm gonna do when I get there, not just getting there.
Yeah,
So
and dude, we're all writing a story. We are all writing our own story in
yeah,
particular, and it's like sometimes I'll think about like if this is like a really hard moment or I'm going through something like man, this is gonna make a fucking awesome story.
yeah,
Like this is gonna be something epic. Like, I want to be able to tell
yeah,
somebody about this and
right.
maybe motivate them or whatever the case may be. But like the trials, like you can definitely turn that into a positive
hmm
when it's all said and done.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely been through periods to where like I think of like opportunities that I may have had, and I maybe felt like I could have done better, or what my life would be like if I would have went to one of those big D1 schools,
Yeah,
recruited me out of high school, and I didn't have this injury, or I went and got a degree and was just a successful wrestler. But I'm
yeah,
like, that's easy,
yeah,
like that would have been the easier path, and like that just wasn't meant for me.
yeah,
And then like the path that is meant for me for a reason and not just for me.
yeah.
So then I look back on that and I'm like, man, I just appreciate all of the hardship,
Oh yeah.
that I've been through. And
Well, man, if and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry
yeah, we
Christmas.
know. That's a good one. I'm about to steal that one,
Yeah,
man.
man. Like shit, you can always say that all day, man. But at the end of the day, it's just like, what do you do? What do you do
Yeah.
with it, and how do you move forward?
Yeah, so I got a question for you. I know, well, I just found out today that you actually had like a wealth of experience with like fighting, and we were talking earlier about like you making that transition from like fighting to like maybe doing something else in normal life. Like, what was that? Was it a particular moment, or was it like just kind of over time? You're like, man, I don't know, I think I kind of want to do something else, or
Yeah,
like,
dude, it was a moment, man.
yeah,
So man, I came off the best year like I had ever had. Like it was kind of a slow year in the sense like I think I only had three MMA fights and I had one kickboxing fight. Like I took that kickboxing fight just
mm-hmm,
to stay active, but it was all pro. So like I won all those fights. I just fought on Bellator. Came off like a minute or 2 minute submission victory in the first round. Like everything was sharp. I was feeling
Mm-hmm.
the best I've ever fucking felt. And the word was like if I did well, like I was probably gonna get like an offer to get signed with Bellator. So everything was I was riding fucking high. And
Mm-hmm.
then I get back to training, and this is probably like I don't know a week or 2 weeks later maybe. First day back to training, and in hindsight, I could probably say like I blew out my shoulder, like I
Mm-hmm.
tore my labrum and rotator cuff.
Oh, been there, man.
Yeah, and
That's
some of it was
both.
probably because
Yeah.
like I was just eating like shit, and like
Mm-hmm.
I came back in. I was training with Julius actually.
Okay.
Went for a fucking single leg, and he just sprawled and
Bro,
wizard
yeah,
down
you
on me, and
just
just
stretched
boom,
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
fucked
yeah.
it up. And so like that whole recovery period, it was probably 9 months to a year until I
Mm-hmm.
fought again. And like, physically, whenever I came back, I was feeling great. And
Mm-hmm.
like mentally, I thought I was there. It's like I was
Yeah.
saying all the right things. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want this.
Yeah.
But man, whenever I got into the cage, man, and like you get in that moment of chaos, and like the fire's coming down on you. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
who are you in that moment? Like, do you really want it? Like, are
Mm-hmm.
you gonna push through? Because if you don't, the dude who is in there with you will.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so I lost that fight, and I was like, fuck, man. All right, well, let me get another fight. Like, I was training, physically felt better than ever. Like, the camp was fucking great. But then I got in there, and I was going against a dude who he really isn't on my level, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. Like,
Yeah.
he got me in a triangle, and I just gave up. And I was like, I tapped, and like that, and then I just decided to stop fighting after that. And I was just like, man, it's like, and people still ask me to this day, like, hey, are you fighting, or when's the next fight? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, man, like,
Yeah.
I just don't want it anymore. And it's funny we're talking about Dean because he just made a post the other day, or maybe it was on a story or something. It's like there kind of comes a point to where it's like, when you're young and you're 26 and you want to fucking, I think he said like eat that dude's
Oh yeah,
eyeballs.
yeah. He
Yeah.
referring to Tyron because people are questioning about, I
Oh,
guess,
okay.
Tyron coming back. That's what that was. I know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he was just
Yeah.
like, you kind of get to a point where it's like, I'd rather take that dude out for dinner than go
Yeah.
fight, go get
Yeah.
his
One hundred
eyeballs.
percent.
And I just kind of got to that point to where like, I don't really want this anymore. Like I
Mm.
thought I did, and like physically, I could probably do this,
Mhm.
and but for whatever reason, I don't. I always say like maybe I've just done too many psychedelics, and like I killed my ego. Like
Yeah.
I don't need that validation
Mhm.
in that form anymore. Like I just don't. It doesn't bring me any joy.
Yeah.
It's like when you expect to win, like you just win. It just is what it is. Because
Yeah.
I expect it. Like
Yeah.
I was always taught you should expect to
Back
win
to
if you're
it.
doing the
Yeah.
right
One hundred
things, and then
percent.
if you lose, you just hate yourself
Mhm.
forever. And it's just like I just got to that point to where it's like it wasn't giving me any more validation.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, it's just time to do this. And like we were saying before off camera, I was like, I can put this same energy and drive because like I'm a fucking lunatic. I dive headfirst into everything. Like I
Mhm.
can put this same energy and drive into something else and
Yeah.
probably build my own business.
Mhm.
So like that was just kind of the transition for me. It was just like I just realized like, man, like maybe I could come back and I could put in the time and make something happen because I feel like I mean I dude, I've trained with Tyron some.
Mhm.
I've trained with Corey Anderson. Like I've trained with countless people in the UFC.
Mhm.
And like I fucked some of them up in practice
Right.
before.
I
It's
believe it.
like it's just like, but if you don't want it, you don't want
Don't
it.
want it.
So yeah, dude, it was just it kind of gradually happened, and it was kind of a hard pill to swallow at first. But I was just like, yeah, man, like no, I don't want this. Like there's success in a lot of areas in life, and you can be successful doing almost
Mhm.
anything. And it just came to a point where I was like, this isn't for me. And then that's whenever I kind of just went headfirst into jujitsu, which is like my passion.
Mhm.
And I never ever would have thought I'd be coaching, but like I'm teaching a ton of jujitsu, and I've been working a lot with a young fighter, Jackson Henson,
Okay.
who
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Sammy
Sammy
Henson's
Henson's
son.
son. Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, that kid, we've been working a lot on striking. Has such a strong mind, and he just works so hard, and
Mhm.
he's a fucking monster. So it's pretty cool to like be on the other side of things, and
Mhm.
like I've put in the camps. Like I know what it's like to win. I know what it's like to have the low lows. So it's like it's pretty cool to kind of help him a little bit
Yeah.
and walk him down that journey. But yeah, man, it was just like whatever it was from whenever everything was running on all cylinders and like getting that surgery,
Mhm.
just that time off, just something happened internally where
Yeah.
it just wasn't for me anymore.
I can kind of relate to that. Not that I'm at the point that I want to give it up or I'm like, but even like having this time off and like just like watching fights to where like people will be like, oh, you do MMA or whatever, like yeah. Oh, I just can't watch that. It's just too brutal. And I'd be like, no, you got to understand the science behind it. And it's like chess and this, and I can break it down into a level to where they can understand. And then like before you know it, like I'm watching a fight and like somebody gets hit, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like oh, like cringing a little bit, like am I becoming more human or like just looking at it from a different perspective. So I definitely get that, but I'm definitely still at a point to where
Oh
I'm like,
yeah. Yeah,
I
if you
still
could put
want
that
to.
to yeah, I
Yeah.
also got to the point where I started worrying about my brain too much.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any symptoms or anything, but like I mean, I feel like I'm a fairly educated guy,
Mhm.
and the more I learn about TBI and fucking just all of the trauma to the brain
Yeah.
and just CTE, I'm just
Mhm.
like, man, like I don't know if this is worth it.
I feel you, and I mean, what I do, I like, in MMA, you go into a gym, everybody, sparring day is the most exciting day of the week. I'm like, man, I'm good. If I'm not training for like a fight or anything, there's
Yeah,
there's no reason for me to take those extra blows, and it's sad because you see it with like a lot of fighters who may have been like very successful within the last like 10 years or so, and then like all of a sudden it just seems like they
yeah,
can't take a punch anymore. Like it's because all of their wars were had in the gym,
yeah,
and like learning. That was another blessing like having these injuries. So with my knee and with wrestling, it was my shoulders. Like with each injury, like I found like a weak point in my body that I needed to work on, but I also it forced me to work smarter
yeah.
and not harder necessarily.
Right.
Because like as a wrestler, like you always grow up with like this mentality that's like if you're sitting, you're chilling, like somebody's outworking you. And then that's always in the back of your mind. And you can
Yeah.
never relax. So I got to do this and I got to do that. And I think Tyron was one of the first people that would kind of tell me like, hey, like maybe you don't need to run this hard every day. Relax, focus on recovery. And then I get these injuries, and I'm like, man, I'm really just wearing myself out.
Dude,
And
yeah.
I.
I've had conversations with younger fighters. It's like they just want to push, push, push,
Mhm.
and it's like, look, man, you come back too early from an injury, or you
Mhm.
push too hard, and instead of taking, 2 or 3 days or a week off, now you're taking 6 months off.
Mhm.
It's like, what would you rather be doing?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, what people don't realize, whether it's just like general fitness
Mhm.
or you're really pursuing an athletic, pursuit, it's like you have to take those rest days because rest is literally the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like that's where the gains are actually made. You don't make the gains when you're lifting. You don't learn like during the day. You're actually when you go to sleep, that's when your body starts encoding things and you start
Yeah.
learning things and
Processing all that information,
that's
and
when you
yeah.
get stronger.
Yeah.
That's when all the magic happens is
Mhm.
during recovery.
Mhm.
Like
That's
people
why I
don't
value my nap time, man. I take
yeah,
a nap every
you're a
day.
napper.
Yeah, I'm a big napper.
Yeah.
I survive off naps, man. But I mean, for me, I think it came from just being in that like training camp mentality. If you're training 2, 3 times a day, like naps are valuable, man, for recovery. So, I've dated people that have like normal like 9 to 5 jobs, and they reach out and like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. Oh, I just woke up from a nap, and they think I'm not doing anything like all
Yeah.
day. I'm like, no, dude, first of all, like I worked out with Stu at 7 in the morning, worked out with him for an hour and a half, relaxed, went and trained with somebody, did some MMA. Like, so come like 11 o'clock, I'm beat to shit. Like, I need to sleep so I can get up and run tonight. Like,
Dude,
like,
that's been a mental
yeah,
shift I've had to,
yeah,
because dude, I'm like I said, I'm teaching this 6 a.m. jujitsu
yeah,
class, and like sometimes I'm doing privates afterwards, or like I'm training twice a day right now,
yeah.
and it's just like sometimes 3 times, like it'll be 3 times a day, and it's just like I'll be taking a nap. I had to like mentally accept that it's okay to
Okay to
take a
take a
nap in the
nap,
middle
yeah,
of the
because you're
day.
doing a lot, man. You're doing a
Dude,
lot. Your body needs it.
by the time 10 or 11 o'clock rolls around, I've already been up and done more than most
Most people,
motherfuckers.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for all you people that be hating on napping, this is why we nap, man, and it's okay.
It's necessary,
It's
bro.
definitely necessary. So I live by the naps. I'll die by the naps if
I
I
can
have
dig it.
to.
Have you've always been a napper?
Yeah, for the most
Yeah.
part. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I've always been a grinder too, so it's
Yeah.
fine. you know.
Dude, as
So
long as you're putting in the work, man.
yeah,
Um, I saw something like Andy Frisell always likes to say, like, it doesn't matter when you wake up, it just matters what you do while you're awake.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
for real, like what are you doing within these 24 hours, man? Like I don't have a lot of empathy for people. Like that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast so I can
Mhm.
like connect with people and
Yeah.
like gain empathy because you know like as a fighter, man, it's a very individual pursuit and a
Hmm.
lot of times you're by yourself and it's
Yeah.
it's hard to relate to people, man. And for me, especially like having a son so young and working full time and putting all these hours in, I don't fucking feel sorry for anybody.
Yeah.
So it's like yeah, that can definitely be it can backfire on you.
For me, I had to learn that lesson through like relationships,
Oh, okay.
you know, because like I tend to, or I would tend to kind of hold everybody to like the standard of like me being able to deal with like hardship and trauma and like you grow up like in survival mode constantly
Yeah.
and then understanding that like oh like everyone doesn't think like that and so like you get in a relationship and like you care for someone or you love someone and like they're dealing with this stuff and like I'm like okay like I understand that you're sad but like I would immediately go to this is what we need to do to fix it
Yeah.
right away.
Always fix it.
Yeah, like this is what we need. Oh, this is what's happening. Okay, well you need to do this and this. And like totally forget about like processing the emotion and like feeling
Yeah.
and like now I'm learning like how important that is.
Yeah.
And like I'm at this weird place to where I've been doing a lot of like deprogramming the
Hmm.
last couple of months because I've had to and I think a lot of it has to do with like the COVID and like we were saying earlier having to sit and like
Yeah.
realizing generational traumas and like childhood traumas that I had and like wasn't really aware of like how much they affected me on like a day-to-day basis
Hmm.
and like stuff like that and like just constantly being in like this this unconscious state of survival and like how much it impacts me on a day-to-day basis and like dealing with someone or like dating someone who maybe is a little more emotionally intelligent but like maybe can't probably process or control their emotions as much.
Yeah.
So it's like the balance between that and like sitting back and because hindsight's 2020,
Oh yeah.
you know, and like as I sit back, I'm just like, man, like maybe this person is right. Or as I'm going through stuff and I'm like shit, this is affecting me on a day to day basis. I didn't even know. Like now as I go through more things, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit. I'm gonna allow myself to feel this.
Yeah.
I'm like this hurt me. Like I'm gonna sit with it. I'm not gonna sit too long, right? But I'm gonna process it. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna step outside of my box. And the more I do that, the more situations arise to where I'm like damn, this kind of I'm being forced outside of this like box that I've kind of put myself in to kind
Yeah.
of survive and get through life. And like I'm starting to grow a deep appreciation for it.
Yeah.
Like I've had my heart broken for the first time, and I'm like dang, like this hurts. But then I realized like you know what, like it's easy to be like a victim, and like I have to be accountable for the energy that I'm putting out that's attracting this negative energy as well too. So
Yeah.
then I gotta deal with that shit inside me, you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't happen again. So like in that vulnerability, like there's been like a lot of progress, and like I think I'm becoming stronger in a
Yeah.
way as well too. So it's definitely weird, man. I'm 26. I'm in this age of everything and nothing at the same damn time. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you got all this potential, but then I ain't really got nothing to show for it. But I'm working and grinding. Like, it's such a like age of like contrast.
It really is, man. You just
Yeah.
gotta have like that that patience, but you have to like constantly be in like aggressively like pursuing whatever that goal is.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But you know, at the end of the day, man, like you're gonna be better for it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you'll come out stronger.
I'm learning that. I'm learning that. It feels good. Like, I think back in my past, like, man, I probably could have cried here and I would have been okay. Like, being tough, what did that get me in the end? Just sweeping stuff under the
Yeah,
rug
dude,
and
you get
like,
softer as you get
yeah.
older.
And then the thing is like, for me, most importantly, is like, as I'm learning to connect with like family more, like, and I have my nieces and my nephews, and like, I'm passing that on to them, you
Yeah.
know, and like, I think one of the best situation that happened to me recently that I can kind of sum that up in is like teaching my 6-year-old nephew how to like tie his shoe. So I can immediately go back to like my first instance with it, which wasn't positive at all, you know, coming to realize that like, you know, I grew up in an environment to where like most people would probably consider this abuse, and like the way that I learned is, you know, maybe not the best way. And just sitting there with my nephew for like an hour and 15 minutes. Like, like, hey, this is how we're gonna do this, and we're going through it. We're going through it, and he gets quiet, and I see tears coming down his eyes, and like being able to tell him, be like, hey, like it's okay to be sad, but like it's not okay to quit. Like we're
Yes.
gonna keep doing this until you get it right. And
Yes.
then he gets it right, and then like he's just so happy and ecstatic.
Yeah.
To whereas like me, when I learned, like it was like I'm gonna show you this one time, and I pretty much got beat until I got it right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
like literally, you know, like it was bad. Like
Right.
as a kid, I normalized that, right?
Right.
That went into my survival mode, and like I'm gonna be tough and can figure this shit out. And
Yeah.
like I literally got beat until I got it right. And being able to like teach my nephew how to tie his shoe, like, hey, it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
It's not okay to quit. Why are you crying? I'm frustrated. That's fine. But we gotta keep going. And
Right.
being able to pass that on to him and do that was like I think probably one of the most rewarding
Yeah.
probably times in my life,
It
to be
feels good to
honest.
see them
Yeah.
like when it clicks for them and they realize like, man, like this was really hard, but if I just keep
Right.
pushing, I
Keep
can
pushing.
get there,
Yeah.
and then they fucking light up.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
super cool to
So
see.
so yeah, man, a lot of deprogramming in this period of my life, a lot of life lessons, a lot of progress, working on my knee, trying to get my career back on track.
Yeah.
Like haven't even started, and I've had like this major injury, but I still feel good about the direction I'm heading, and
Yeah.
just being more vulnerable and just taking off of these scratched up pieces of my armor and like fixing everything and putting it back on so I can be ready for the
Yeah.
opportunity. That's
Damn.
that's 2020 for me.
Right on,
Yeah.
man. Well, dude, you're doing the right
Yeah.
things. You know what I mean? And like, you're right in your own journey. So I'm super excited to see where it goes next,
No, I
man.
appreciate it. I definitely, you know, hope like next time I'm fighting, man, in Shamrock, I can see you backstage or something. We could catch up,
Yeah,
and
man.
we got a bond now for life.
For
So
sure, dude.
yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time doing this, man. It's been what, about an hour 20, dude. So things are
Dang,
fun.
not bad. I talked your ear off,
No,
man.
dude, this has been great. I just want to be respectful of your
Yeah.
time, dude. So, dude, is there anything that you wanted to leave the listeners with, anywhere you want to direct them, social, so they can check you out if they want to follow along your journey or anything?
You guys can always follow my Instagram, which is at Fighting David. I'm having a love-hate relationship with social media right
I get
now,
it.
just
I
with
get it.
everything. But you can always follow me there to kind of see what I got going on. I try to post on there like regularly, so
Dope.
definitely follow me on IG. That's at Fighting David. And hopefully February, March 2021, you'll be seeing some promotional posts about a fight coming up.
I'm excited,
So,
man. I'll be watching, and
yeah.
I'll put all that in the notes so it'll make it easy for them
Okay,
too.
all right,
So,
man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me,
oh
man.
man,
For sure.
anytime,
Like
brother.
this has definitely been an experience. It's been great.
Hopefully it was a good one.
Yeah, it was a great one, man.
Cool,
Great,
cool. All
great.
right, well, David, dude, again, I appreciate you, my man, and everybody, until next time.
All right, man.